Hi, I'm the Mythology Guy, and I just recently saw Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, as usual with videos like this, I'm going to start off not really going into spoilers, and then I'll give you a spoiler warning, and then I will go into spoilers. But first, I'm going to give you my thoughts without spoilers. Now, what did I think of the movie overall? It's fun. It's a fun movie. I think most people are gonna have a good time watching it. It does very heavily prioritize its comedy, though. So if that's not your thing, if you didn't like Thor Ragnarok, I think you're gonna hate this movie. So yeah, if Thor Ragnarok was more your thing, then I think this movie will mostly be your thing. But if Thor Ragnarok was not your thing and you were more about how the first two movies went, yeah, this ain't for you, man. This movie has a ton of jokes. This movie's got joke, and most of them land. Most of them do land. Some of them don't land, though. Some of them are a little too much. Sometimes they repeat jokes quite a bit, and it's like, okay, it was funny the first two times, but calm down, and I'll get to that a little more in spoilers and stuff. But overall, I had a good time watching this movie. I had decent expectations going in. I had a good time during, and I walked out with a smile on my face. So yeah, that was my experience with the film. And I thought they handled certain things very well. Now, first of all, I called several things correctly. I said the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be in the first 10 minutes tops. I was right. They're not in the rest of the movie. They do give a reason why they're not in the rest of the movie, though. It's not just, what the hell was that all about? Because what's going on in the galaxy is, in several areas, so Thor's like, okay, I'll go try to figure out the main thing that's going on, and you guys go help everyone who's been affected by it, so it makes sense how it happens. Thor obviously gets back in shape, and there is one thing that I was very happily surprised by, and that's Jane Foster, actually. I'm not spoiling anything, this was in the trailer. Jane Foster Thor is here. I've often referred to her as Lady Thor. Apparently some people get upset when you refer to her as that, so you're supposed to call her the Mighty Thor, which I always thought was weird, though, because isn't Thor also Mighty Thor? I'm just gonna call her Jane Foster Thor. That's what we're gonna do. Jane Foster Thor. When I first saw the announcement in the comics of Jane Foster Thor, I was like, okay, I don't see the point. When she was announced in the trailer, I was like, oh, all right, because I, as you guys who saw my trailer reaction know, I wanted to see Beta Ray Bill. There's no Beta Ray Bill in this film, by the way. But, a lot of people did tell me, hey, actually, the Jane Foster Thor comics are pretty darn good. And I was like, okay, well, that's good to hear. So, I guess we'll see how it's done in the movie. I didn't have a ton of faith, though, because lately Disney has not been handling female heroes well in a lot of ways. Sometimes they do. Moana's good, Encanto is good, but, the Mulan remake is a piece of crap. Rey could have been so much better in the Star Wars sequels. Rey isn't terrible, but she could have been way, way better. So I was a little afraid that they were going to take the Jane Foster Thor and maybe, just make her a Mary Sue, do this whole, non-interesting character, boring character, just like in the Mulan reboot, freaking stoic face, just I'm here to, get it done, and I'm not fun to watch, and I'm not likable, and I'm more powerful than Thor for literally no reason, just because, people think that that's empowering just to say, oh, she can do anything for literally no reason, also in the Captain Marvel movie, which I didn't really like. I was happily surprised they didn't do any of that. They didn't do any of that. They actually, I like what they did with her. In my opinion, she was very likable, she was funny, she was relatable, and it got to the point where I was really rooting for her. I liked watching her kick ass. I liked watching her dynamic with Thor. In fact, that's one of the best things about this movie, is it actually really made me root for the romance between Thor and Jane Foster. For the first time. I didn't care about it in the first movie. I didn't care about it in the second movie. To the point that when it was gone in Thor Ragnarok, I was like, yeah, it's good, get rid of that. No one cares about that. This movie, I cared about it. She has a real character to her in this film, and it's charming and it's nice to see, and I really felt bad for her at times, and I legit wanted to see her and Thor get back together. And I'll go into spoilers about whether or not that happens, but I wanted to see her keep being a hero. It was fun to see too. Like, and yeah, they didn't just randomly make her more powerful than OG Thor. I actually, from what I saw in the movie, I think OG Thor is still the more powerful one, but Jane Foster Thor is still like a badass who can hold her own. And it's cool to see. It feels like someone who just got her powers. She's there like trying to figure stuff out. She's asking Thor for like tips and stuff and pointers. And another thing I like, I thought they were gonna do this stupid cliche I can't stand where it's just Thor's all jealous for no reason. Well, for a reason, but for a stupid, petty, childish reason, like, I don't want you to have my hammer. What the hell are you doing? But no, that doesn't happen either. Of course, Thor's taken aback by it at first, but he very quickly is like, yeah, you've got Mjolnir, I've got Stormbreaker, you're a hero now, it looks good on you, good for you. I'm like, yes, good, act the way a human being would behave. I like that, instead of just falling back on stupid, lazy writing cliches, artificial conflict and misunderstandings and people saying stupid shit. There's none of that. There's none of that in this movie, and I like that. I really like that. So yeah, I think the characters, for the most part, are handled really well here. There's one character I still won't forgive them for, and that's Korg. I know so many people love Korg in these movies. I hate Korg in these movies, and let me tell you why. If he was just his own character in these movies, I'd probably love him too, but I love the Planet Hulk comics so much, and Korg is nothing like that in the comics. In the movies, he's literally just a joke. He is just there to be a joke, and in the comics, he's such a cool, like, badass, honorable character, and there's none of that in these films, and sometimes they just turn the stupid up to 37 with him, like, out of 10, and I just, yeah, I every time I see Korg in these movies, I'm just like, oh god, like, and the only one worse is Meek, but Meek isn't even in this movie. He's in like 2 scenes, and that's it. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I think of the characters. Now, the story itself, the villain, Christian Bale, great performance. Gore the God Butcher, fantastic idea, great motivation. The way they set up his motivation, really good. Obviously, Gore the God Butcher, he wants to kill all the gods. Now, the problem with the villain in this movie is I feel like we're missing some scenes. It really feels like some stuff got cut out. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that some stuff got cut out, because Gore the God Butcher does surprisingly little god butchering in this film. Almost all of his god butchering is done off screen. Like, we're just like we're hearing, oh no, gods are being killed. Gods have been killed. It's like, great, can you show me? Can I see it? Make the villain more intimidating by showing me him just murdering innocent gods or stuff like that. They even say later, you've been murdering innocent gods. I'm like, great, how about you show me that? Can you please show me that? I love the idea of this villain, and I love Christian Bale's performance, so let me see it, please. Like, it would have been great to see some of that. And at one point there's like, yeah, there's a dead god, and Thor's like, oh, that's one of the nicest gods you'll ever meet, and he's dead now. Well, I feel like we missed what could have been a really good scene of, like, just showing how evil Gore is, just murdering a very nice and, good god. But we don't get that, which is unfortunate. The scenes we do get with Gore are pretty darn good, though. And then one other small weakness of this movie is, since Gore uses, like, this necro sword, this shadow darkness sword, like, his minions are all shadowy dark creatures, which makes the action really hard to see sometimes. Action isn't bad or anything in this movie, it's just I can't see a lot of it, and that's what bums me out a little bit. So yeah, that's a little too bad. It's hilarious. Gore's realm is called the Shadow Realm. It's literally called the Shadow Realm. I was half expecting them to run into, like, the cast of Yu-Gi-Oh! In there. That would have been fucking amazing. Fucking Shadow Realm. That's so cool. But, and then at one point, to try to get help, Thor and the crew, and Valkyrie's back, which is cool. And, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention with characters, Sif finally makes a goddamn return for 2 minutes. Like, literally, Like, I went into this movie thinking, you better freaking have Sif in this one. I'm sick and tired of you guys acting like Sif doesn't exist. What the hell happened to Sif? Well, here they go. Oh, Sif went looking for the God Butcher, and now she needs to go to the hospital. And that's it. That's Sif in this movie. I know that might sound like a spoiler, but did I really give anything away by telling you that? Like, come on. So I was like, oh, okay, there she goes again. So I feel like it was almost as if Marvel was saying, there she is, now shut up. Like, it's kind of funny. So yeah, they go to a kingdom of where all the gods hang out. Like, apparently the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Asian gods, like all the Asian gods is what I'm just including with that. Even the like Mesoamerican gods and all that shit. And it's kind of fun to see. There's in this god kingdom, like there's like in the background you can see Huitzilopochtli, Amaterasu, the Jade Emperor, Dionysus. Also some just made up gods just for the sake of it. And, they go in there to, like, meet Zeus specifically. Again, that was shown in the trailer. I'm not giving anything away. And, what was funny at first, Thor was like, okay, we need to ask Zeus for help because he's the wisest and most powerful of all the gods. And I was thinking, okay, that's not quite how it is in the myth, but, all right. But then, actually, when they encounter Zeus, I'm not going to give it all away here, but, pretty mythically accurate for the most part, actually. That's all I'm gonna say for now. Go check it out. I think you'll enjoy how Zeus was portrayed very entertainingly by Russell Crowe, I believe it was. So yeah, that if you're a mythology fan, I think you're gonna have fun with that mythology scene. Like I had fun with it. My only downside to it was I wanted more. I really wanted more, because when they get to this kingdom, I'm just going to tell you, they kind of just interact with Zeus, and the other gods are just kind of in the background. I really wanted more god interaction, especially because it was like said, like Thor was like, oh, we could also ask like Ra for help, and I was like, yeah, oh, are we going to see Ra? We don't see Ra. So, yeah, I really wanted more. I really wanted more of the god stuff. And yeah, so, and then, one thing about this movie that's both cool and a weakness is what happens in the climax. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you right here what happens in the climax. I'll tell you in spoilers, but what happens in the climax kind of breaks Marvel in a lot of ways, and I'll tell you why. It was entertaining when I saw it, but when I really thought about it, I was like, wait a minute. Has that character always been able to do that? Why didn't that character do that during certain other times? Yeah, it's a little, there's two after-credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene and an after-credit scene, and both of them were good. There wasn't just some, Captain America walking out on the screen, I'd like to talk to you about patience and disappointment. It's like, no. They both actually are things that add to the story, so it's pretty cool. They've set up, that a certain mythical character will be appearing in a future film, and I'm like, could be pretty cool. So, yeah, that could be really interesting. So, overall, what would I give this film? Because this film is really fun and funny, but it does have a few issues, on fundamental, like, movie-making side. Like, we could have used more of the villain, and there is a problem with the climax, but the characters, and I won't include how I feel about Korg in my score, because I'm just going to judge this as a movie, not as a comic book adaptation. From what I've heard, like, if we were judging this as a comic book adaptation, it would probably be a 2 out of 10. So yeah, the characters, I love them. Within the confines of this movie. The story, good. The comedy, good. I'm not going to say great, because like I said, there are some jokes that don't necessarily land. What would I give this? Okay, so just judging it as a movie and not a comic book adaptation, I'm somewhere between a 7 and an 8, because 7 is good movie and 8 is great movie. So I'm somewhere between a 7 and an 8, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. You guys can let me know like what your score was, and or tell me like maybe you'll convince me to fully sway one way. But yeah, overall that's what I think of the movie. I had a good time, and I'm very glad I had a good time, and I'm very glad I was able to enjoy Jane's character to the level that I did. I love being happily surprised by that. I love that. So, keep doing that, Disney. Don't make any more goddamn characters like the Mulan remake, please God. Okay, so I'm gonna go into spoilers now. Here's your spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Jane Foster dies. My God. I was not expecting that at all. I believe everyone thought they were ushering in Jane Foster as the new Thor, but she dies. I did not expect that at all, and I was bummed. I was bummed that she died. I was like, aw, that's too bad. But yeah, I always like to start the spoiler section off with just a huge spoiler. So, yeah, the total amount of gods butchered in this movie, by the way, on screen, 1. Literally only 1 god butchering on screen. And it's one that I think the whole audience was happy to see happen, because it's this god who, Gore apparently used to be this very devout follower of his god, and his god just didn't give a shit about him, and it resulted in Gore's people dying, his daughter dying, him almost dying, and when he found out about it, he killed that god, which, yeah, we all saw it coming. Did anyone not see that coming the second, he encountered, his god out in the oasis or whatever? It's oh, he gonna kill that guy, because that guy don't give a shit about him. And they have I actually should have mentioned this in non-spoilers. They have the god's bleeding golden ichor. Hey, accuracy. Very good indeed. That is what gods bleed, at least in Greek mythology it is, not in Norse. But, it's still cool to see. It's still very cool to see, and I like it. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, so let's talk about, Thor's goats are in the film. Very happy that they were introduced. And yeah, they're screaming goats. They're screaming constantly. It's funny to see the goats screaming the first 2 times, then it just gets old. That's one of the jokes I was talking about. Oh, one thing I love in this movie, sentient weapons. That's very Norse mythically accurate. Yes, they have sentient weapons. Mjolnir is sentient. Stormbreaker is sentient. And it even kind of adds to why Jane was picked by Mjolnir to be the next Thor. There's this scene that shows, one time, Thor and Jane were hanging out, and Thor's just laying next to Mjolnir, and he's like, I love her so much. Mjolnir, promise me you'll always protect her. And then you see, a magical, aura within Mjolnir, and it's when I saw it, I was like, I like that. I really like that. The idea that the reason Mjolnir gave Jane her powers wasn't just because, she was a great person who was worthy of it. Of course, that's good too. But I like this because I think this adds to all 3 of their characters, Thor's, Jane's, and Mjolnir's even, that when Jane got cancer that's what's happening. Jane has cancer and she's dying. Mjolnir sensed it, and he was like, I have to help her, so come to me, Jane, and I'll give you these powers. But, of course, it is a little weird then that it turns out later the hammer is actually killing her by turning her into Thor. So, I guess that's a little bit of a plot problem, which is why I'm hampering between a 7 and an 8 here. But, yeah, I actually liked that idea, that Mjolnir is, fulfilling his promise to Thor. So I did like that. I thought that was cool. And yeah, like I said, it adds character to the hammer. Stormbreaker has character now, which is kind of funny. He's the jealous of that Thor's hanging out with his ex-weapon. It's kind of funny. Though it is a little stupid that Stormbreaker then won't let Thor properly teleport to Gore because he's mad at him. It's come on, that's dumb. You're trying to save the universe, Stormbreaker. Don't be petty right now. This is not the time to be petty. And, anyway, yeah, so then in the climax, So when they go to the God Kingdom, first of all, yeah, Zeus is like, they're like, Zeus, we need your help. And Zeus is like, I can't help you. We have an orgy coming up that I have to deal with. I'm like, that's Zeus right there. Also, Bao the dumpling god. I don't know if this is an actual god, to be honest with you. I was like, I haven't heard of that. I'm sure a lot of you are going to ask me, is Bao an actual god? I don't know. I'm sorry. They have Korg's god sitting on a throne made out of scissors. Get it? Rock beats scissors. Haha. And Korg's just a joke now. Also, they have Korg in the end get together with a guy named Dwayne. I admittedly laughed at that. Dwayne the Rock. Haha. But again, Dwayne has a fucking mustache, which Korg's people can't grow hair. I gotta stop referring to the comics. It's Taika Waititi. He's not trying to be comic accurate. Okay. Let's talk about the climax before I get fucking sidetracked again. So, in the climax, because the gods refuse to help Thor, like, none of them come to help him, Thor goes to the kids who have been captured by Gore and says, okay, everybody just pick something up. And they all pick stuff up. One girl's just got a stuffed bunny. And so and then he does the Odin spell. He goes, whosoever holds these weapons, if they be worthy for a limited time only, shall possess the power of Thor. And he gives all the kids Thor powers. And it was cool. I was like, oh, what a cool idea. And you watch the kids all wreck shit, and the kid's bunny has transformed into a fucking thunder beam blaster. It's so fun to watch, and it's such a cool way to incorporate the kids into the fight. It's like the new generation of heroes. But then you think about it. And you're like, hold up. How long has he been able to do that? How did he become able to do that? How can he do that at all? Like, it made sense in the first Thor movie. Odin took Thor's powers away from him, and they went into the hammer. And so whoever held the hammer had to be worthy for those powers to activate. I know people have said, oh, and by the way, a lot of you people who say, oh no, in Thor Ragnarok they revealed that his powers never left him. No, his powers left him. They went into the hammer. The thing I always assumed is when the hammer broke, the powers returned to Thor. A lot of you guys going, the powers aren't in the hammer? Really? Then how come Jane's getting powers when she lifts the hammer? Ha ha. Anyway, but if Thor... wouldn't Thor have to give up his powers in order to give them to all these kids? And if he doesn't have to give up all his powers, and he can just duplicate his powers in all these kids for some reason, why didn't he do that during Avengers Endgame? Why didn't he do it during Thor 2? Like, why didn't he, when the Dark Elves invaded, why didn't he just give the entire Asgardian army his powers? They would have destroyed those elves. Why didn't he do it in Thor Ragnarok? Again, against Hell's forces. Would have wiped them all out. And yeah, why didn't he do it in Infinity War during the fight against Thanos' men? Really, probably should have. Why didn't he do it in Endgame? Give all the Avengers his power. Y'all would have made easy work of Thanos' men if they had their powers and your powers merged together. It doesn't really work. It kind of breaks everything. It's fun to see in the moment, but you have to keep in mind, we're not just talking about one movie here. We're talking about a movie franchise within a movie franchise. Like, you have to think about the bigger continuity. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, you guys. You know what I would have preferred as a climax, personally? And yeah, the kid thing is fun, but it doesn't technically work. What I would have preferred as a climax is... Okay, so they went to the God Kingdom. Zeus refuses to help them. The gods don't help them. But then later, when Thor's fighting Gore, one of the main points Gore makes is you went to the gods for help, and none of them are here. They didn't help you. So what does that say about the gods? And he's kind of got a point. But then what I would have liked is during the final confrontation with Gore, suddenly, some of the gods do show up. Not all of them, but some of them do come in, and they start and they take Thor's side, and they battle against Gore together. And then you could have, yeah, like a moment where Thor and Gore like talk, and Thor and Gore, I just realized that, like, and Thor's like, you see, the gods didn't abandon the universe; they came, and Gore's like, not all of them came, and Thor's like, but some of them did. You can't judge everyone based on what some people do. I think that would be a great message, it would work. Be like, yeah, sure, some of the gods are horrible, but, there are ones out there who legit care and are legit trying to do the right thing, and that's what makes you wrong in trying to wipe out every single one of them. Like, some of them are innocent, some of them care, some of them are good, and you're just doing a blanket wipe of the whole thing. That's not right. You should never judge everyone in, like, a group based on what some people do. That's a good message, I think. But they didn't do that. They did the kid thing instead. Another twist I was expecting was I thought the sword was manipulating Gorr into trying to kill all the gods, because the sword, it's called the Necron sword, so it's a sword of death. I thought the sword was trying to wipe out all life in existence. I thought what was going to happen, because then it would also play into the sentient weapons thing. I thought Gorr was going to get to the, like, being that grants one wish, and he would be all ready to wish for all the gods to die, but then the sword would, like, levitate, knock him down, and then the sword itself would try to wish for all life to be exterminated. And some of you guys would probably think, that's ridiculous, that's too silly. It's like, have you seen what happens in this movie? Did you see Bao, the god of dumplings? Nothing's too silly for this film. But that didn't happen. I wish it had. I think it would have been a cool twist. So then what happens is, actually, there's a very good scene where Thor reveals to Jane, like, the hammer's killing you, I need you to stay here because I love you and I care about you and I don't want... It's good. I like how he just says everything he's feeling. There's not some stupid fake conflict moment with a misunderstanding. No, he just says what's going on. He tells her verbatim what's going on and why he doesn't want to go and that he cares about her and all of that stuff. It's good writing. It's good, like, how real people would act. But then Jane, senses that, Thor can't win without her. So she goes and she joins him, and it kills her. It kills her to join him. And yeah, they actually followed through with that. And up until then, they had been teasing us with the idea of characters dying, but no one was dying. Like, I really thought Korg was dead at one point, but no, the face is still alive. It's not how it works in the comics. Stop comparing it to the comics. It's not the comics. They teased us with the idea that Valkyrie was going to die, but she survived, which I'm happy about. I don't want Valkyrie to die. But then Jane does die, and I was very surprised by that for a whole lot of reasons. One of the main ones being they were literally at the area where you can make a wish to the Supreme Being. I thought Thor was going to wish to save Jane, but that didn't happen. He just ignored that Supreme Being. And then Thor does convince, like, Gorr, now that the sword is broken and it's no longer corrupting Gorr, like, Gorr is a regular person again, and, so he will probably be more likely to listen to reason. Thor convinces him, look, Gorr, you don't need to just wipe out everyone. You're choosing more violence and more horrible things to happen when you could just choose love. You can bring your daughter back. And Gorr's like, oh, yeah, I can bring my daughter back. And then, kind of out of nowhere, he just goes, oh, but I'm dying. It's like, I think you guys forgot to set that up. My daughter will be alone. And they're like, oh, no, she won't be alone. Like, I'll raise her. And so, yeah, he brings the daughter back. Jane dies. Gorr dies. And then Thor takes the little girl in. And I kind of like this dynamic. I kind of like the whole father-daughter thing. It's what I liked about Last of Us 1. And I like it here. I like the idea of Thor raising a little girl and her, like, wielding Stormbreaker and becoming a new superhero. I really feel like they're setting up Young Avengers, because they've got this girl now, and they've got, in the Loki TV show, they introduced Kid Loki, and they are making a Miss Marvel show right now, which looks terrible. I really don't want to watch it. They also introduced the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. I know she's a little older than the others, but she's still young, so could be a young Avenger. And you could technically put the Tom Holland Spider-Man in there, too. I really think they're trying to set up some young Avengers, and cool. Oh, and Miss America in Doctor Strange. So yeah, I really think they could have young Avengers, and I kind of think they should. I would like to see young Avengers. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the film. Is there anything else? No, not really. I don't think so. So yeah, that's what I thought of Thor Love and Thunder. Overall, did like it. But yeah, there were some problems, which I just went into, and I think some missed opportunities. I am really excited to see Thor fight Hercules. That I want to see. That I really do want to see. So yeah, that's pretty much all I think. Please let me know what you guys think. If I missed something or if I misunderstood something, I really want to know. I'm very glad. Thanks for telling me that, yeah, Jane Foster is good in the comics, because it did raise my hopes for this film, and it paid off. I really liked her in the film. So I was happy to see that. Anyway, that's it. I'm the Mythology Guy. That was a mythology-based movie. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.